Erie County Comptroller Stefan Mychajliw. Stefan, you are on the air.
Well, I know my last name is an eye chart, and it's hard to spell. Most people can remember it here in Erie County. It flows off the tongue at the Broadway Market.
I bet it does. Are you a regular there?
Absolutely.
You and your gang? Yes, okay.
Yeah, I grew up right down the street from the market.
Oh, man. What do you think of that whole President Biden, that one clip? I mean, there's countless of them, but not knowing that he's talking about what is the Pentagon that he's talking about?
He was talking about the secretary, now I sound like him. Now I sound like him.
The Secretary of State.
The guy, that outfit over there.
That outfit, the general.
Yeah.
But, I mean, for him not to know.
But I say this, too. I mean, if somebody asked me, hey, I need to ask a question to one of your team members, I wouldn't say, oh, gosh, that guy, the Social Security guy over there.
That outfit over there.
These are the people in your inner circle. You need to know their name.
Honest to God. Anyway, Stefan, it's great to have you.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it shows incredible weakness, not only here domestically, but around the world. I mean, I'm also very concerned about President Biden and Democrats in Washington just printing money and giving what amounts to a blank check. Mm-hmm. It's all over the country when it comes to coronavirus funding. I mean, New York State was facing a $6 billion deficit pre-coronavirus, and now Erie County is getting $180 million in cash from the feds. And so I fear inflation, I fear higher taxes, and I fear having a president of the United States that doesn't remember the names of his own cabinet.
His own cabinet.
And Stefan, I'm sure you've seen the breakdown of that bill, the stimulus package they just passed. But if you look at some of those numbers, I mean, what was the math we did, Mike? 500.
Then I'll read just what we did in terms of taxpayers being on the hook. But then I need you to read some of these the numbers. Some of the ways that this money is being spent. $1.9 trillion. We did a division by 140 million taxpayers. And Stefan, that means $13,570. That's $27,000 if you're a married couple that you just basically are on the hook for additional debt in our federal government.
Well, that our children and grandchildren are going to be paying for. Mm-hmm. Really not going to make that big of an impact, especially when it comes to governments, because at the end of the day, someone has to pay that bill.
Right.
It's not free money.
That's right.
And only in Albany and Washington do they think if there's a fiscal problem, don't reduce spending, don't tighten your belt. Right. We'll just go to the basement printing machine and we'll just print cash and the problem will go away.
But if you break this bill down, and they did, I'm reading an article here. So stimulus portion of that bill, so it was $1.9 trillion, right? Mm-hmm. The stimulus portion for the checks was about $425 billion. Okay. And then the vaccines and PPE was another $160 billion. So let's just round up and add that to $600 billion. Where's the rest?
Yeah, that's 33% of that whole number, right?
A little less than 33%.
So 67%. We have got a few things here. $1.6 billion to Amtrak, $800 million to foreign food aid.
$1 million.
I know.
From the federal government. And that's why I very strongly push, and will be in the coming days ahead, that we need to return that money to the people who paid the bill in the first place, and that's taxpayers. We need to create a rebate check. An Erie County government property tax owner will get, and this is my proposal, a certain percentage of what they pay in property taxes and give it back to them because they're the ones that paid the bill in the first place. And families are struggling, businesses are struggling, and this is a great way to provide COVID relief and help struggling businesses and homeowners.
Yeah, homeowners and property owners, they're the ones who had to, basically concede that, hey, you can't kick anyone out. Try and just, give some months of rent forgiveness. Yep. But, yeah, I agree completely with you, Stefan.
And, Stefan, I know the answer, I think, to this, but how does something like this get passed in Congress where you say, okay, $1.9 trillion, but only $600 billion is going to go for the people and the citizens of our country. Mm-hmm. The rest is going to go to, art funds and Amtrak and museums. I mean, how does anyone with a brain say, yeah, that's a good idea?
Well, that's what happens when there's no checks and balances in government, and elections have consequences. Democrats won a majority in the Senate and the House, and obviously the presidency, and not just in Washington, but even in Albany. New York City Democrats control the New York State Assembly, the New York State Senate, and obviously Andrew Cuomo is still, for now, governor. And so there's zero checks and balances on radical extremists and radical liberals who never met a dollar they did not like to spend. And what they don't understand is at the end of the day, you can't keep printing money. You just cannot keep spending and spending and spending on liberal pet projects without having there be a reckoning.
Right. But deep down, though, do you want to go to a break real quick and come back? Deep down, do these folks actually feel like they're doing the right thing and accomplishing something by doing this stuff, though? Or do they know what they're doing is just an epic disaster?
Oh, I think they have a clear-cut agenda, especially these radical socialists who hate America. They want to defund police. And I firmly believe this is all purposeful and part of this extreme left-wing agenda that wants to destroy America from within. And even just my political beliefs and my core conservative values, whether I'm the Erie County Comptroller or, as a candidate for Hamburg Supervisor, it's pretty simple. We need to cut taxes, get rid of pork and patronage and the friends and family plan, not only in the town of Hamburg, but the county of Erie, government spending, and always try to create a culture where businesses can survive and thrive. And it's very clear, the line of those of us who have that belief system, the radical progressives that want to destroy our communities and defund our police and destroy America.
Right. And the way you just described it does not sound very difficult. It just takes some fortitude to do it and some intellect to do it. We're going to take a quick break. Stefan, can you hold over?
Of course.
Awesome. And Stefan, can we continue talking a little bit about your run for Hamburg Supervisor?
That's right. I've served 9 years as Erie County Comptroller, and our founding fathers did not want career politicians or people leeching off the government for their entire existence. So my wife and I and Ashley were raising our children here in Hamburg, and I've got a Reform Hamburg plan to cut taxes, hold the line on taxes, reduce spending. Term limits is a big part of it, but especially the friends and family plan. It really bothers me when there's smug, entitled political families that government and taxpayers as their personal piggy bank, and they leech off the government. And, right now I'm the endorsed Republican and conservative candidate, and there's two Democrats running. A gentleman by the name of Bob Reynolds, worked in the IDA, former county legislator, union. And while Bob and I have political disagreements, he's someone who sticks to his values, his guns. And then, there's Mark Poloncarz' puppet, who he gave a $100,000 political patronage job to with a $22,000 raise. Randy Hoak, whose sister is a Poloncarz political appointee. He's a Poloncarz political appointee. His sister's on the town board. His wife is on the town payroll. Wow. I'm going to get rid of the friends and family plan in Hamburg, and I made a pledge. A nepotism pledge, anti-nepotism pledge, that my wife will not work on the town payroll. And so voters are going to have a very distinct choice this year. Me, yours truly. Sure. Again, I want to cut taxes, reduce spending, term limits, and give money back to taxpayers, or, someone who wants to basically leech off taxpayers and put their family on the payroll like they always have, and are in government for self-service and not public service.
It's a pretty good gig right there. You know somebody, then you just keep hiring it out.
Yeah, I'm sure all those people you mentioned, though, were highly qualified for the positions
and they work very hard.
They work very, very hard.
A $22,000 raise in the height of a coronavirus crisis. Businesses are struggling, and this political hack who never met a government job their family didn't like, I believe firmly that they were basically bribed. Say, hey, here's a $100,000 a year political patronage job with a $22,000 raise, which was passed by the legislature on a Thursday, and then 1 week later, this person announces a run for Hamburg Supervisor, and they promised to quit in 11 months, if they were successful. So, I despise, smug, condescending political hacks who, basically leech off the government for their entire job, given a $100,000 a year political patronage job with a $22,000 raise to run for office. And I think that
it is brutal. And you actually reported on Dr. Gail Burstein, a $202,000 annual salary with $183,000. It's like doubling your pay in like you said, a pandemic year where everything's shut down. Many people are closing businesses. Many people are being furloughed or losing their jobs. And this wonderful woman here doubles her pay.
Political appointees do not get overtime, period.
Right.
Democrats never met a political crisis they didn't take advantage of. And Mark Poloncarz claimed that because he declared a COVID emergency, that this gives him the right to give his political appointees overtime. Taxpayers are the ones stuck getting the bill. I mean, some of these political appointees made 5 times more than what the average Erie County resident makes in their annual salary.
Right.
Just overtime. Hundreds of thousands of dollars on food and pizza, chicken wings, and shops. It's sick.
Yeah. As the rest of the country's figuring out how to pinch pennies together, they're spending more.
Yeah, and being told, like our friend Robbie De Niro, by the way, folks, we're going to have our TFG after show right after this show, 3:15, Facebook Live. We have Robbie De Niro on. You do not want to miss that. But guys like Robbie were told, you cannot go basically make a living for you and your family. That's what they were told. And these people have a...
And they were saying, while you're not making money, please make sure you don't miss your electric bill and or your tax bill.
That's right.
Right? Don't forget that, because you got to pay that. Even though we're mandating and actually sending police officers to make sure you're not working, still pay your bills.
Yeah, there was no cut and pay for those people.
No.
Stefan, we have a couple callers. I have Tracey calling in and wants to talk Cuomo and nursing homes. But again, if you could hold over, I'd love to get Tracey on as soon as we return from this next break. That be okay with you?
Happy to.
Some nice texts out there.
Great texts coming in. Supportive of Stefan, of course, right? That's probably all the kinds of texts and emails you do get, right, Stefan?
I had my family text and call, so I had
it's like
expensive.
Wait, it's Stefan is great. Can we get ice cream later? I don't know who's texted that in, right?
Yeah. I was putting my house on Twitter. God bless America, right?
There you go. I think I'd love for you to respond to some of the calls coming in. I'm going to bring in Tracey. Tracey on your cell. You wanted to talk Cuomo nursing homes?
Hi, I did.
Hi. Welcome to the show. You have Mike and Mike, but also Stefan.
Thank you. Hi.
You're welcome. Hi.
So I work for the DDSO, and everybody knows what's going on by now with the nursing homes. But I called because I heard while I was driving in here you mentioned this particular population, and I don't think anybody realizes the way he just spread COVID around like rapid fire. Mm-hmm. An example, mandating employees to places that don't have COVID, that do have COVID confirmed. And then you get sent back to work at your own house. You're getting mandated, up to like 2 hours away into 24-hour shifts. It's atrocious. Just what?
Well, Tracey, and this is Stefan very quickly, I think what else is atrocious is that politicians and Democrats here in New York and across the country are calling for Governor Cuomo to resign over sexual harassment, very serious allegations. But no one's leading the charge on 15,000 nursing home deaths. And it was a death sentence forcing seniors stricken with COVID back into nursing homes around healthy patients and around healthy staff. And so I think there should be a very serious federal investigation about that. As a matter of fact, I asked the old Health and Human Services Secretary when he visited Buffalo, Secretary Azar, visited Buffalo and Roswell Park, and I personally handed him correspondence and asked him, please launch a federal investigation of nursing home deaths in New York State, because here there was a ship off of Manhattan,
right,
and convention centers full of empty beds, and yet he forced nursing homes to do this.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, here's what I'd like to say, to go back to what you both are saying. Where was Chucky Schumer on the nursing home part a couple months ago when this started to break? Right now, all of a sudden, and again, not to diminish what's going on right now, because that's extremely serious as well. But that's like on the back burner now, the nursing home issue, right? It's just all about the sexual harassment issue right now. But where has everybody been on this months ago on the nursing home issue?
Nowhere to be found.
So, and another point that I wanted to make. So, all this unemployment and everything going out, these patronage jobs, the politicians' raises, something that happened to grossly underpaid direct care staff. If you give it, we make just about this minimum wage they want to raise to. For the last 2 years, our 2% contract raise has been held indefinitely, and I'm hearing politicians getting raises, getting higher pay, and for 3 months, I worked about 180 hours per 2-week pay period, with my pay being withheld. We got spouses out of work, kids out of school, and people on unemployment are making hundreds of dollars per 2-week pay period for us than we even make coming to work every day.
Right.
They're crushing what we make coming to work every day. Cuomo was saying he was going to retro pay, and now I'm hearing that's not ever even going to happen.
Yeah, and then we have our health commissioner doubling her salary in a year of pandemic and strife and shutdowns and economic disaster.
Well, it's a health crisis, Mike. She deserves more money now. She deserves a 50% pay increase. It's a health crisis.
Tracey, we joke sometimes and say, man, we get so fired up. We've got to really watch our mouths, on radio. I don't know how you can control yourself as you tell us that, because knowing the job you're in and how important it is for all of us to have our loved ones taken care of, I just don't know how you even control yourself, to be honest.
Our new employee retention rate is basically zero. And when I say zero, maybe 1 or 2 new employees stay. Right. The exodus from this particular agency is absolutely incredible. What are they going to do when there is nobody to take care of these individuals?
And Tracey, this is Stefan.
City setting.
Tracey, how would you like a $22,000 raise? How does that sound?
That would change my life. It'll pay for my master's program, or at least part of it.
Well, and the Erie County Legislature last year eliminated a patronage job in social services at the height of the coronavirus crisis, because they said, you know what, we don't need this, not necessary. But all of a sudden, Democrats needed an opponent to run against me, and what do? They create a $100,000 a year political patronage job with a $22,000 raise. And they give it to a political hack whose sister's on the town board, whose wife is on the town payroll, and now he is on the polling car's payroll. And yet lifesavers like you are working countless hours saving lives, but the Friends and Family Plan is alive in Hamburg and Erie County. And Tracey, it's a slap in the face to you and all of our first responders and all the people on the front line saving lives. So God bless you, and thank you for what you do.
Yes, thank you, Tracey. Don't be a stranger, okay?
I won't. I am just addicted to AM 930. I might sit on one time fixing my car, and I haven't turned it off.
We really appreciate you calling in. Thanks again, Tracey. And honestly, it's just so frustrating.
And we talked to a local law enforcement officer this week, and we asked him the same type of question, or we talked about jobs, incoming officers, and what's that look like? And he said, when we see new guys coming on the force, it's amazing, because it's almost like, why would you want to do this right now? And it's the same thing for a lot of these healthcare workers.
Well, and they have such a fervent commitment to the things they believe in, taking care of the disabled, taking care of the elderly, that they can amazingly they can ignore the crap that we see, like the Randy Hoaks, the political patronage jobs, the $22,000 raises, the Gail Bursteins doubling her pay. They actually can ignore it, or at least dismiss it and say, my commitment is to the people who need me. And honest to God, talk about admiration for people. They're just amazing. Hey, Stefan, can we talk briefly about Cuomo, and what do you think? Are you on the side of Lomas, who thinks there's no way this guy gets taken out? We always think the Bidens, the Clintons, that they're going to get taken out. They never do. Or are you on the side of Glenn Wiggle? I'm putting you on the spot, but Glenn thinks, no, this guy's going down.
I don't think he's going to resign, and Governor Cuomo should be held to the very same standard that he himself established for Brett Kavanaugh. Governor Cuomo said that Brett Kavanaugh should take a lie detector test, take a polygraph. So too should Governor Cuomo. His own words.
Agreed.
Demanding that he take a polygraph. I think Governor Cuomo should take a polygraph too. And if it's good for Brett Kavanaugh, it's good for Andrew Cuomo. I don't think he resigns at all.
Right.
And I think that's scary, the thought of a governor, Kathy Hochul, someone who claims to be a conservative and pro-gun and pro-life when they're running in a conservative district, and then backs partial birth abortion and all these radical socialist ideas when running statewide in a Democratic state.
Right. It's pretty amazing how Cuomo's attitude has changed so much on sexual harassment and abuse over the last few years, isn't it?